call to order the regular meeting of the Batavia City Council for Monday, February 15th, 2014. I'd ask if you all would please rise for a brief invocation to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight as the City Council meets in regular session, certainly our hearts are heavy with the tragic news that befell Alderman Wolf's family this past weekend with the loss of his niece. We're also ever mindful that this young lady is also the granddaughter of former Alderman Elsie Smith, who so ably represented Batavia's 3rd Ward for a number of years. And so we doubly feel the impacts of this tragic move. And we ask that special blessings and support be showered upon their family in this time of need. As always tonight, we want to remember those from our community who are serving on foreign soil in defense of the liberties of the United States of America. And we just ask that a blessing be showered upon them, along with all those from our country who are serving alongside them so ably in defending the liberties of the United States of America. As always, we ask for guidance and direction as we undertake to act on the matters of business before us, knowing that in the hearts of each and every one of the members of the City Council, our desire is to do what is in the very best interest for Batavia today and for future generations to come. We ask for all these blessings. Amen. Alderman Stark, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Alderman Brown is absent. Clark?
Here.
Atack?
Here.
Starr?
Here.
Alderman Chanzit is absent. Wolf?
Here.
O'Brien?
Here.
Callahan?
Here.
Coleman?
Here.
Sam?
Here.
Vasilian?
Here.
Cerrone?
Here.
McFadden?
Here. Let the record reflect that 11 of the 14 members of the City Council are present and accounted. We have the necessary quorum. With 13 of the 13 aldermen are present, so we have 10 of the 13 aldermen that are on the City Council at the moment.
No, we have 11 of the 13 that are on. We have 2 absent out of the 13 present. He's no longer on the council.
Right, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. All right. So we have the necessary quorum to conduct business. Okay, moving then to item number 4, which are items to be removed, added, or changed on the agenda. Alderman Stark, do you have anything tonight on that?
Yes, Your Honor. Number 22, the executive session will be removed,
Okay.
and that's the only change I have.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Yeah, 21.
Oh,
Okay, then we would move to item number 5, which is presentation of tonight's consent agenda.
okay. The consent agenda reads as follows. We accept and place on file the Joint Committee of the Whole minutes for August 19th, 2014, the Historic Preservation Commission minutes for August 11th, 2014, August 2014 Building Report, the following approvals: September 12th, 2014 payroll in the amount of $760,911.56, the accounts payable check register in the amount of $877,607.90, the City Council minutes for August 18th, 2014, Resolution 14111-R granting a non-exclusive assignment of easement for Toll ILIV LP Tangwood Hills Unit 5 Nycourt easement, which came out of Jake Howe with a 9914 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-48-R, authorization to purchase 3 2015 Ford trucks from Bob Writings Ford for $83,467, which was budgeted, which came out of the Jake Howe on 9914 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-123-R, authorizing execution of a licensing agreement for ViewWorks Asset and Infrastructure Software from ViewWorks LLC for $42,300, which came out of the Jake Howe on 9914 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-126R, authorizing execution of a master services agreement with Ruckert Melke for implementation of ViewWorks Asset and Infrastructure Software for $99,000 $36,400, which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-112-R approving agreement with Municipal and Financial Services Group LLC for a water and sewer rate study for the not-to-exceed amount of $39,906, which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-115R approving master services agreement with Power System Engineering, which also came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-116-R authorizing task order number 1 with Power System Engineering for engineering of Fabian Western Transmission Line for an amount not to exceed $40,175, came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-117R authorizing task order number 2 with Power System Engineering for engineering of Colonial Village overhead rebuild for an amount not to exceed $47,599, which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-118R authorizing task order number 3 with Power System Engineering for engineering of Carlisle overhead rebuild for an amount not to exceed $33,594, which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-100-R authorizing execution of a 3-year agreement for water valve operating and underground leak detection with Associated Technical Services of Villa Park, $65,100, which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-122R authorizing execution of a master services agreement with Allen Peppa Architects, Aurora, for architectural and/or engineering services deemed necessary for the city of Batavia, which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-105R, appointing a broker of record for all lines of liability, property, casualty, and workers' compensation insurance, which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-124R, purchase of summer power, which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. Resolution 14-125R, approval of power sales agreement with Rubicon Technology, Inc., which came out of the JCAL on 9/9/14 with a 9-0 recommendation. I make a motion that we approve and place on file the consent agenda as read.
Moved by Alderman Stark, second by Alderman McFadden for the approval of the consent agenda as presented and read. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Stark,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Homan,
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Vasilian.
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
So motion's approved, 12 yes,
11 yes.
11 yes.
No no's, 2
No
absent.
no's, 2 absent. Okay, we got a couple of presentations tonight, and I'm going to ask the fire chief if he would join me here. And we're going to first recognize Mike Simons, who is retiring, I guess, from the Batavia Fire Department after 30 years of service. And you want to make some comments? Sure. Mike, would you like to come up?
Mike Simons has been on the Batavia Fire Department for 30 years now as a paid-on-call firefighter. He has been influential in the careers of several full-time firefighters and paid-on-call firefighters. His reliability, his passion for the job has made him a mentor for many of the new firefighters. I believe if it was up to him, he would stay for another 30 years, but that's not to be. Thank you, Mike, on behalf of the city and the Batavia Fire Department. Thank you for 30 years of service on the department. You'll be missed.
I certainly had the honor, because as many in this room will remember, I used to be a member of this same organization with Mike. And as I do the math, I think our careers overlapped 2 years. I was on for a number of years before he got there, and then I got elected mayor and had to get off, and he went on for 30. So he's been there for a long time, as I have. The city of Batavia would like to present to Mike a plaque, but before I give it to him, I'd just like to kind of tell remembrance I have of Mike on the Batavia Fire Department. From the first day he arrived, you were a carpenter, as I remember. And having a carpenter on the fire department was a real extra bonus because we always had some damage that needed to be repaired or boards that needed to be put on a house, burned up house, or there was some issue. And I remember Chief Hodge and later Chief Darren always thought about having you as a ready resource because after the fire was out, we could really put you to work and you could do a lot of good things for us and you knew what you were doing and you knew how to do it by code and do it the right way. So there were a number of Batavia residents who benefited not only from your fire department knowledge, but from your professional service, and we took advantage of that. And I just wanted to cite that before we give you your plaque here as a good example of somebody who was willing to give 180% to what he's doing and somebody who really did step forward and serve the citizens of Batavia in a very honorable and straightforward fashion, of which many people benefited from your services, not only as a fireman, but all the things you did after the fire was out. So on behalf of the people of Batavia, I thank you for that. And on behalf of the City of Batavia, I'd like to present the following plaque, which says, City of Batavia, presented to Michael Simons, paid-on-call firefighter, in appreciation of 30 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Batavia and the Batavia Fire Department from May 7th, 1984 till September 4th, 2014. Thank you.
I guess I just want to thank the City of Batavia for giving me the opportunity to serve them for 30 years, and it was great being employed in a town like this with fine people in Batavia. I'm going to miss a lot of people, a lot of memories, a lot of good memories, there's some bad ones, but they go hand in hand. Just thank you very much, and let's see everybody around. Good luck, everybody.
Next, we, as all of us know, we unfortunately had a resignation in the presence of now former Alderman Garen Sparks, who ended up moving, and so he had to leave the city council because of his residency issues. So we were indeed very, very sorry to see him go, but as always the tradition, we would like to present him with the plaque, but I see he's already returned out to his former friends in the park. Alderman Sparks was on the fire department for many years before he came on the city council, so it was very easy for him to retreat back in once he came. And so on behalf of the citizens of Batavia, we'd like to present to you a plaque which reads, from the City of Batavia to Garen Sparks, in appreciation of 9 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Batavia and as a member of the Batavia City Council 2005 to 2014. Thank you for contributing for the quality of life of our community, and signed by myself as mayor. Thank you. I'm going to ask Alderman Sparks if he'd like to make some remarks, but before he does, I would just like to say on a more personal note that he really has been a very hardworking, very dedicated, and concerted member of this body who has always, one thing I will say for him, he has always looked out for his constituents, and if there was issues in the first ward, he was right there on top of them, trying to understand what the people were saying about it, what their concerns were, and he always looked out for the people that he represented. And I could start naming little things I see around the first ward, be it curbs or gutters or sidewalks or streets or drainage issues. There was a number of things, Kirk Road issues, that all came up during his tenure, and he was always here to be on top of all that and knew exactly what we were doing and why we were doing it. And the residents of the first ward have been strongly represented by your presence on this body. So I'm sure they join with me in expressing their regret to see you go, but we wish you the very best in the days ahead.
Thank you. I don't have a lot to say. All right, let's try this again.
And that was on tape.
I don't have a lot to say except thank you for the constituents for allowing me to serve them, and thank you to the council for putting up with me. It's been tough sometimes. I do regret that I'm leaving at a point where we do have one big issue on Kirk Road that I was well involved with, but you got to do what you got to do. So I just want to thank everybody and staff. It was wonderful working with you. It was wonderful working with the council, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving to item number 8 on our agenda, that's going to be, I believe you've all gotten a memo. We are requested by the Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau to appoint a member to serve on their board from the city government, and Alderman Som has indicated her willingness to do so. So at this time, I would like to appoint Alderman Jamie Som to be the City of Batavia's representative to the Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. May I entertain a motion for that approval?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Alderman Atack, second by Alderman Bowman. Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan. Bowman.
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Vasilian.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Clark.
Motion's approved by a vote of 11 yes, no nos, 2 absent. Okay, moving then to item number 9, which is presentation tonight by the Batavia Public Schools Committee on District 101's Hall of Honor. And we have Joan Spitz and Greg Hodge.
Hi,
Welcome.
I'm Joanne Spitz, and this is Greg Hodge. First, I'd like to apologize for not being at the last meeting that I was on the agenda for, but I didn't know I was on the agenda, so I'm sorry. About 2 years ago, I'm with the Batavia Foundation for Educational Excellence. We call it BFE. And about 2 years ago, we started thinking about starting a Hall of Honor for the Batavia Public Schools. We are just about the only school in this area that does not have a hall or a wall of honor for our graduates. And for about 2 years ago, we started doing research, talking to superintendents, other foundations, other halls of honor committees, and we put together a group. It's probably the best group I've really had to work with. We have 2 people from the foundation, the superintendent, the high school principal, 5 community members, a BEA member, and the 4 major groups of the high school, and a Board of Ed member, which is Greg. And we have been working for the last year on bylaws and a nomination form. We've tried to make it very simple, and we're here to tell you about it because we want to start getting nominations. We have a big hall at the high school reserved that is going to have a perpetual plaque on it, and we are going to honor people every year, hopefully. And Greg is going to give you the information on all the dates, and I'm going to hand out information about the Hall of Honor and the nomination forms. This is not our logo. We haven't finalized things yet, but we are working on it.
Thanks, Joanne. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, for giving us the opportunity to come before you and utilize BATV and the rest of the thing. We're really trying to work to get the word out. That's really what we need everybody to do. If you can just get involved by just letting people know about it. This is an exciting new venture that we're starting up, and I'm really honored to be part of this committee. My gavel's on here. What we need help is to actually now, since a lot of the groundwork's done, is we need to find nominees for the Alumni Hall of Honor. And actually, it's going to be, our first class is going to be, we've been taking applications or nominations since September 1st, and it's going to run through February 1st of 2015. And the first class, so to speak, of 2015 is going to consist of about 10 BHS alumni, and the criteria for that is personal achievement in the field of academics, business, literary, professional, scientific, medical, the arts, or athletics. So it's not just focused on one particular area in which we've had a alumni shine. We hope to emphasize that some service to their community, state, or country in some way, shape, or form. Then we're also going to nominate friends of BPS, Batavia Public Schools. A couple of those will be that have shown a deep commitment from the past or present as a staff member that have worked for in and around the Batavia Public Schools, and a couple for meritorious service or a loyal friend of Batavia. So we're trying to really reach out. It's if you had some interaction at the public school level, we have. The staff must have worked in some of the minimum criteria is like for 15 years. So we're looking for some people there. And as you can see on the nomination form that we handed out, and we have these readily available on our website. They've got to be out of school for 15 years and things like that. So there's a lot of different things there. But the main thing we're here for is to get the word out and pass that on to everybody. We're trying to hit every entity we can to kind of just let everybody know about this, since it's a new adventure, and we're very excited about it. Again, at our website, bps101.net, Hall of Honor, or / Hall of Honor, get all kinds of information. But really just hope you pass the word.
I'm going to say one more thing. The alumni have had to been out for 15 years. A staff member had to have been teaching or been a staff member for at least 10 years. So, okay. And I'm going to use one more minute to tell you about another program that I'm part of, and it's called Chip in Batavia. And I know a lot of you know about it because a lot of you have donated time and things for us. But Chip in Batavia stands for Community Members Impacting People in Need. And we work directly with the school district, the Director of Student Services, to help students that are homeless, and there are over 50 right now, and students on free and reduced lunch program. We started out doing very basic needs, from snacks at the schools to clothing to school supplies, and we've expanded in a huge way. And the only reason we've been able to do that is because of our community. So what we thought would be this tiny little program exploded, and it's because of churches and companies and individuals. And every day we get information about horrible things that children are going through and families are going through, and our amazing community is able to help them. So I'm so proud to be in this town, and I wanted to thank everybody here who works every day doing things for us. And it's been an extraordinary adventure to see how wonderful this community is. So, thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for that. Both projects. First of all, on the honor roll, I think it's really a nice idea that we do this, because needless to say, I think Batavia High School has a huge history of success and some most honorable people who, not only, in the school, but certainly after they left the school had careers that really shined, and, some of them made the national stage and are something that we should be very proud of and sharing with those who come in the future, so that they understand the tradition and the depth of quality of student that has come out of Batavia High School. And it's certainly a record that we should highlight and wear with great pride as a community. So I thank you for doing that. Secondly, to Joan's comments about the CHIP program, that is certainly one that is to the heart, and certainly one that is necessary and needed in our community. And I can tell you, as the mayor, a day doesn't seemingly go by here that I don't hear, or the staff doesn't hear, of somebody who has a very difficult plight in front of them. Some of them it kind of just happens to because of changes in their life. Others, it's kind of a long-term thing. And I am amazed at some of the stories I hear from the police and others that are dealing with some of these folks on an ongoing basis, you know, where some of them have to reside or are trying to reside, or the conditions that they're living under. And so programs like that, and, you know, certainly our Access Toy program at Christmas time and other things that the community is doing certainly are trying to rise to the heart of this, in the soul of the issue, and try to get people in the community bolstered up and, you know, give them some support, so hopefully maybe as times turn, they can turn their lives around and get to a better place. And so without the community and the support of all those working in that program, I think a lot of them wouldn't be there. So it's one of those things that you never can write stories about and put in the newspaper, because it really, those types of things should not be told there and shouldn't be there. But in the same token, we need people that are willing to step forward and understand that there are some folks going through a very difficult time, and as a community, we need to be there to do what we can to help them out. So thank you for all you're doing, and keep up the great work. And certainly the city is here to work with whomever in that whole idea to try to do what we can to help you. So thank you very much. Okay, moving then to item number 10, which is going to be a presentation by the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning on presentation of Homes for a Changing Region, and Scott Buning is going to do the introduction on that. Scott?
Thank you. Tonight we have Drew Williams-Clark from CMAP and Brett Hanlon from Kane County. They have been working on this project for the last probably 2 years or so now. And this has been a project that is a multi-community effort with us, North Aurora, Geneva, and St. Charles to do kind of a sub-regional analysis of housing needs and what the situation is today and what some of the things that we should be looking for in the future. We've been working with them diligently in the last 2 years to get this project done. Right now, tonight, they have the final draft of the report that's available, and they'll give you a presentation on that. And what we anticipate is after we go through this, and the other communities have also reviewed the final draft and have given their final comments on any changes that are necessary, we would have the final presentation to you for acceptance of the report, probably on October 6th, depending on how the dates fall with the other communities. That'll be the date that we anticipate the final report is available for us to adopt. Later on, what we'll be doing is then going through the different sections and the recommendations of the report and bringing those back to the JCAO for discussion and action for future activities, whether it be for transit or other things that are related to housing policies and those types of things. So those will be brought forward for future discussion for the committee. So, and with that, we have Drew and Brett tonight to give the formal presentation.
Good evening, everybody. So as Scott mentioned, for a little bit over the last year, we've been developing this Homes for a Changing Region plan for the city of Batavia. As he mentioned, we have a final draft tonight. I'm going to highlight some of the data analysis that was done for the city, and then I'm going to present you guys with the recommendations that are going to help you plan to meet the needs of a diversifying, aging, and increasing population. The Homes for a Changing Region program is a collaborative effort between the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and the Metropolitan Planning Council. The process was free of charge to you guys through funding from the HUD Sustainable Communities Initiative, Chicago Community Trust, and the Illinois Housing Development Authority, and the Harris Family Foundation. And it really is an innovative way to do housing planning. It's people-focused, so it's looking at the residents who are currently living in Batavia, and then it's projecting what's going to happen to them over the next 26 years. It's market-based, so we didn't look at any public housing or subsidized housing. This is all subject to market forces, and it's sub-regional because housing issues are not constrained by municipal borders. And a lot of the issues that you guys are seeing here are also prevalent in Geneva, St. Charles, and North Aurora. So the Homes program plans sub-regionally. You guys are part of the Central Fox Valley sub-region. So in addition to the recommendations that I'm going to present with you tonight, there's also a set of sub-regional recommendations that you can work with your partner communities on to implement. When the plan is complete, it's going to consist of a sub-regional report and recommendations. There's then going to be a summary, an existing conditions report. There's going to be an analysis of the current housing situation. As I mentioned, it's going to project the trends out 26 years out to the year 2040. There's a capacity analysis. So it's kind of like a build-out analysis where it shows how many housing types can be built with the existing zoning in place and the existing planned unit developments approved. There's an urban design focus area that I'll go in depth on here in a moment. And then, of course, there's the conclusions and recommendations. To begin, I want to start out with just some basic statistics. It's going to help provide some context for the data. As of the most recent American Community Survey, there were nearly 26,000 residents in Batavia. This is up 8% over the last decade. And according to CMAP's Go-To 2040 projection, Batavia can expect another 8,000 residents by the year 2040. This is going to be 31% growth. So before we start to get into some of the slides that talk about housing affordability, I want to talk about exactly what I mean by affordable housing. So the HOMES program considers a household cost burdened if they're paying more than 30% of their income on housing costs. So for an owner-occupied household, this would be your mortgage, this would be your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance. For a rental property, it's just gross rent. So if it's over 30% of a household's income, that's unaffordable. If it's over 50%, that's severely unaffordable. So here we have a slide. It's a little bit of a lot to look at. What this is it's comparing Batavia with the CMAP region. Batavia is on the left, the 7-county CMAP region is on the right. The taller bar in the Batavia section is showing the current situation. We see that 34% of Batavia homeowners, so this is only the owner-occupied households in Batavia, 34% of them are currently paying over 30% of their income on housing expenses, and this is up from 23% in the year 2000. So you can see this does mirror what's gone on in the entire 7-county CMAP region, but it's still an issue because housing affordability is decreasing, or it has decreased over the last decade. You can see that the dark blue is 13% is over 50% of their income, and then the 21% is between 30 and 49% of their income spent on housing costs. The next slide is showing a graph with the same information only for renters. So what we can see here, again, the tall bar is showing the current situation. 46% of renters in Batavia are paying more than 30% of their income on rent. This is up 11 percentage points from the year 2000. And you can see, again, this mirrors what's happened in the CMAP region. You have stagnating incomes. You have unemployment. Not a lot of job creation. And you have overall, over the last 10 years, there's been an increase in housing costs. So that's what causes this to happen. This next slide, this graph is a lot to look at. I'm going to take a minute to describe what's going on with it. On the x-axis on the bottom, you can see those are income ranges. The y-axis is housing units. You have your gray dashed bars, which is basically your occupied housing stock affordable for each income range. So that's your supply. That's your housing. The blue is your people. That's your demand. The light blue is the current demand, and the dark blue is your future demand. So what we see here is there's a sufficient supply of housing for those earning between $50,000 a year and $100,000 a year. You have a shortfall in supply for those earning more than $150,000 a year, and then you have significant shortfalls in supply for those earning less than $50,000 a year. Now, this presents a tremendous opportunity for you guys to help guide development to plan to meet the needs of your low to moderate income residents. Again, this is the same graph only for renters. What we see here is there's adequate supply for those earning between $35,000 and $100,000. There is currently adequate supply, and there's projected to remain adequate supply out to the year 2040. There's shortfalls in supply projected for those earning more than $100,000 a year, and then you can see quite significant shortfalls in supply for those earning less than $35,000 a year. And this is particularly a concern because there's a complete lack of housing available for these residents. They're not able to purchase a house, and they're not even able to find an affordable place to rent in the city. So imagine you have a lifelong resident living in Batavia. They decided to retire. They're looking to downsize out of their single-family home. They're looking to rent, and they're not able to find anything that's affordable to them. Or you have someone who grew up in Batavia. They go to college, they graduate, they get an entry-level job making $33,000 a year. They're living in their parents' basement, and they're gainfully employed. They're a valuable asset to the city, and they're not able to find anywhere to live within the city boundaries. So they're forced to leave the community where they grew up. So that just is a couple of examples that helps highlight the importance of affordable housing within the city. This next slide has a couple of different graphs. Bear with me while I explain them. The one on the left is showing the development capacity. So we worked with staff to basically understand how many new units could be built in the city. So this includes underutilized properties, where we actually created a formula to identify underutilized properties and looked at the zoning of how many units could possibly be redeveloped there. And then we also took into account the approved planned unit developments in the community. And then that's the blue that you see there. That's the development capacity. Then, according to the projections, we have our estimated need for units out to the year 2040. And what we see is the estimated need is going to outstrip capacity by nearly 1,000 units out to the year 2040. So basically what I want you to take away from this is there's going to be shortfalls for every type of housing, large and small lot, single family, townhome, and multifamily. The graph on the right is basically just taking your estimated increase in housing units and adding that on to the current occupied housing units. So again, that's just showing that there's going to be, it just shows how many housing types are currently in Batavia and then projecting how many are expected in the future. So now I want to move on, talk a little bit about the urban design focus area, which is the old Siemens site. So here we're looking at the corner of McKee and Van Nortwick, and the site is there. The site also fronts Wilson on the south side. And we held a community workshop here in November with your residents, with planning staff, with public officials, and we were able to gain a lot of feedback and kind of understand what people wanted to see there. And so basically what we learned is people wanted to see a mix of housing types and a mix of uses. So as you can see here on McKee, you have your multifamily housing. Van Nortwick, you have some duplex style housing. You have a community market here that's going to draw people and pedestrians who are going to walk, and really can be kind of a focal point of the community. You know, it is kind of a centralized location between downtown and between Randall Road. I think it's got a lot of potential. The residents also expressed the desire for some commercial uses, maybe mixed use, maybe commercial on Wilson. And then on McKee, they expressed desires for linear parks, pocket parks, bike route on McKee. So now we're going to transition and talk about the recommendations. So this first recommendation is just very broad, and it's based on the data analysis that I just showed you. So it talks about meeting forecasted increases in housing demand through a combination of targeted redevelopment and annexation. So basically, when I showed you that there's going to be the demand for all different types of housing in the future, and then there's shortfalls in supply for those with low to moderate incomes, that's kind of what this is hitting on, is if you can zone appropriately, you can have the variety of housing types that are going to accommodate people of all different needs. And so, again, this is just reiterating the point, homes attainable for residents with low to moderate incomes, and then, of course, the small and large lot single-family townhomes and multifamily housing. Senior housing is a big issue as the senior demographic continues to grow. I think it's great what's being done on Randall with the Mooseheart PUD. Having the age-restricted housing is something that I think is a great idea and is consistent with this recommendation. The second recommendation states the city should adopt optional form-based code overlays for the downtown mixed use and the mixed use districts. So this recommendation needs a little bit of context as well. The downtown mixed use district is downtown. And then the mixed use districts, you have two of them from what I could see on the zoning map. I looked at it. You have the Siemens site, which is mixed use, and then you also have the Campana site at Fabian and 31 that's currently mixed use. And so I also want to talk a little bit about what a form-based code is. Now, this would be an optional form-based code, so the developer would be able to comply with the traditional Euclidean zoning as it is now, or they could opt for the form-based code, which is basically proactively addressing the way the building looks and the way that it functions. So you'd be able to dictate how tall the building is, what the facade, what the building materials are made out of, how many windows there are, the signage, the street trees to allow walkability, the trails through the property. Things like that are things that you can proactively address so that you're addressing the aesthetics and the performance of the building. And in theory, this is going to generate a higher comfort level with density. So the neighbors can say, you know, that looks nice. I can see where I would benefit from that. You know, I would like that in my neighborhood versus, oh my gosh, that's 35 units per acre. That's, you know, that's kind of scary. That's, you know, too compact of housing for my neighborhood. So this is where this recommendation is kind of it's what it's getting at is form-based code can really be an asset to the city, and you can really plan for exactly what you want here in Batavia. CMAP has released a step-by-step guide to form-based code. This is going to be an invaluable resource for the city. You can kind of take a look at how much time and effort would be needed to create the form-based code and administer it, because it is something that will take time and effort. The third recommendation advocates for the creation of affordability incentives in key areas of the city. So this, when we say incentives, we're talking about a density bonus and parking requirement reductions in certain areas of the city. So by having more compact uses, you're going to basically have more units. You're going to lower the cost per unit for the developer, and that savings is going to be passed on to the resident. And we want to have this in locations with existing infrastructure, with sidewalks and streets, close to stores, restaurants, jobs. So these locations can be found. They're infill locations throughout the city. Also locations in close proximity to transit, so you have PACE bus stops. For instance, Kane County offers a transportation impact fee discount program, and so any sort of multifamily housing within half mile of a PACE bus stop or 1 mile of a Metra commuter station gets a discount on their impact fee. And so that's just an example of an incentive that incentivizes locating on transit corridors. So that last point, talking about transit, kind of leads me into this. We're recommending adopting a Kirk Road transit overlay zone. Well aware that there's no transit on Kirk Road right now, but it's something that we've talked with staff, and we think if you're proactive and working with PACE, it's something that can happen. Kirk Road, basically when people think about affordable housing, they're not always thinking about transportation, but typically transportation is a household's second largest expenditure right after housing costs. So you're talking about your car and gas and insurance, and it adds up. It's expensive to own a car, let alone more than one car. And Kirk Road is a strategic corridor that goes through the east side of Batavia. It's a vital link in Batavia and the Central Fox Valley subregion between housing, office, retail, and industrial uses. By providing an overlay zone on this corridor, you're going to coordinate land use with transit, and you're going to allow for housing, dense housing, to be created on the corridor. It's going to promote transit ridership and promote affordability that way. The next recommendation talks about creating a downtown arts and culture overlay zone to promote affordable live-work units. So this is one of my favorite recommendations. When we were talking with staff, we were getting real excited about this because they were talking about they wanted downtown to be an area that was unique, that was, you know, lively, and it would bring young people to live, to work, to shop. And this was kind of in line with our data that showed that residents aged 25 to 44 are really going to be driving housing growth in Batavia. And so this was kind of a natural fit where we thought that by housing people in live-work units or units that are conducive to artists and young professionals, you can really accomplish a lot where you can get people downtown to support the restaurants and the stores and the jobs, and you can also have people living here and have the restaurants and jobs draw people. Again, this is going to help accommodate the high young resident housing demand. And again, CMAP has a very valuable resource where they have an arts and culture planning toolkit. And this can help Batavia, can really walk you through assessing, preparing, and implementing arts and culture strategies that are tailored to your great existing arts culture. I know you guys do have a good arts culture. You have your Water Street Studios, and you have a lot going on with artists in the city. So this is something that can build on that. The next recommendation is to expand the existing rental property licensing program. I'm aware that you guys just did expand the City of Batavia rental property licensing program. This is recommending that you apply that to single-family rentals as well. This would kind of address the surge in single-family rentals that has been experienced here in the city. The City of Addison, or Village of Addison, has a successful program that can be looked at as a model, and this is described in depth in the plan. And then, of course, for a successful program, you'll need to ensure that the program has an effective fee structure designed to cover some of the inspection costs without overburdening landlords. The next recommendation states reaffirm the city's commitment to be an open community. So this is kind of a two-part recommendation. The first one deals with the city website, and I know there's a lot of valuable information on the website, but we're recommending that you provide a channel for residents to file complaints about housing discrimination. This would just lend itself to having an open community. And then also ensure the city evaluates whether proposed designs comply with the Fair Housing Act. So as of now, new developments need to comply with the Illinois Accessibility Code for accessibility standards. And basically, the federal Fair Housing Act is a different set of guidelines, a little bit more detailed, a little bit more thorough. And if you wanted to, you could adopt some of the federal Fair Housing Act standards and hold new developments to those standards to provide accessible entrances, routes throughout the house, kitchens, bathrooms, etc. And the final recommendation is we recommend you consider partnering with a nonprofit to provide or refer a range of social services through a location near existing affordable housing. So this is advocating for providing social services for your residents to help them become financially stable. And it's kind of a bottom-up approach to housing where if you can help your residents get their feet on the ground and start being financially viable, you can address housing affordability that way because they'll be able to afford more housing, more expensive housing, than if you're just approaching it from the top down where you're trying to reduce the price of housing. And with that, I'd like to open it up for a discussion. If you guys wanted to discuss any of the recommendations.
Any comments? Alderman Vasilian?
I have one question. When you were analyzing the housing stock and the projected shortages at the high and low end of the ranges, how does Batavia compare with other communities in this area and throughout the state? Do you see the same patterns elsewhere?
I've noticed similar patterns where the middle is there's basically an overabundance of supply in the middle income ranges. I've only been a part of the 4 presentations in the Central Fox Valley region. I don't know if Drew's seen anything different.
Sure. I think there's a couple of things that we're seeing.
Drew, you want to come up and use the mic? We can get you on TV here.
Lovely. I live to be on local access. The two things that are pretty common everywhere. One is the spike in the middle, as Brett just said. The second thing is that at the low end of the rental spectrum, typically you're finding that it's seniors that's driving it, and that's certainly the case here as well. I think the other thing that's fascinating is that you do see a projected growth in the in the age segment between 25 and 45, and that's head of households, so younger families typically. That's a good thing. A lot of folks want that, and you're seeing that here, and that's sort of what led us to emphasize that arts and culture overlay recommendation. But those are 3 things I think that are pretty salient. The one thing that might be slightly unique is that you're maybe seeing more of a projected uptick in that 25 to 45 demographic.
Do you know of any communities that you would say are exemplary in terms of providing the mix at those other ranges, or especially the lower end ranges?
I think everybody, I think that especially in places that are further from the city, you find that you have a much more of an abundance in traditional single-family large lot housing. And so a lot of communities are looking to figure out how they can diversify in the smartest ways. So I think that that's probably pretty typical in Batavia as it is to places that we see sort of in this sort of geography as it pertains to the central city.
So you can't name one in particular that's doing it well that we can look to as an example?
You know, I think in terms of intentional planning, there are certainly some suburbs that are trying really hard to make sure that they have that kind of a mix. People point to places like Evanston, Oak Park, Highland Park has some good strategies that they've been using, and I think that they've seen development diversify more as a result of those. But they also started those back, 10 years ago in those 3 cases, and so they've had time to see that fruit ripen, so to speak.
Thank you.
Other questions of the?
I'd just like to say I'm excited to see the Kirk Road Transit overlay, that there's some look into that. We have an apartment complex right along Kirk Road there, right down Wilson Street. It's some subsidized housing, and it's, as you say, I mean, it just gives people a leg up to make a better life for themselves. That's what they're doing in this housing is to get a better life, and it's just assisting them. And when these people are able to climb out of subsidized housing, obviously, then they contribute to society on a tenfold basis. So I'm kind of excited to see that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of housing units there.
Do you see this study or a portion of it as something that we can use as easily as a tool for attracting or working with developers, targeting developers? I mean, couldn't it be modified a little bit so that we could do that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because that's actually a sub-regional recommendation where we have talked to the developers about these, and they were kind of echoing everything that we were saying, is where they can't even get the lending for the types of buildings, the type of the demand that they're seeing. And so there is a disconnect, not only with the developers, but with the lenders. And I know rental in general is very expensive around here, and it's in part because they can't get the funding to build the multifamily rentals.
So you've seen developers, and you've discussed this study with developers, and they like what they're seeing, and they think would be helpful for getting financing?
Absolutely. And they're seeing the same thing, where the demand has shifted to small lot and different housing types away from the large lots and the large houses. And so, some sort of educational materials or outreach materials that's supported by developers, I think would be something very valuable going forward.
Lucy touches on kind of an important point, is the banking community, the people with the money tend to control the way a lot of development comes about. Do you find that the banking industry is more receptive to small lots, small footprints, qualifying lower income people for those things, or do you still see a lot of resistance in the banking community?
Sure. No. I think the banking industry is moving, slower than a lot of people would like right now, but they're also dealing with tighter credit restrictions than were in place in the past. And so what we're seeing right now is that we're in an adjustment phase in the economy right now. So what the economy is trying to figure out, if not to use the economy as an omniscient entity or something like that, but what's going on right now is that people are trying out new products and people are trying out new credit products. And I think what we'll see over the next 5 to 10 years is that this demand that we're projecting is, again, I can't emphasize enough, not atypical. So we're seeing a demand that's going where it used to be, going from where it used to be, which is very large lot homes, very large homes in general, to smaller and smaller homes, homes that are located close by things that you could walk to, that you would want to be able to walk to, grocery stores, dry cleaners, basic amenities like that. But that's going to take a long time because, one thing that we can do is deal with the regulations that maybe make that a little bit more difficult, right? As collective local governments across the region, we can handle that. The other thing is that we need to see credit products that allow that to happen. And so it's harder to say when that's going to happen, but what we're seeing now, and what we've seen honestly since the beginning of the Homes for a Changing Region project, is that we're actually quite I think we're actually fairly good at showing developers what is in need in an area. And we have seen towns over and over use these studies to say, this is what we're looking for. And we can cite examples where, bricks and mortar have come together to make that happen. When will the credit piece fall into place? That's anybody's guess. My area of expertise is urban planning. Unfortunately, I'm not necessarily an expert in terms of looking at where the banking sector is going right now. But I do think that it's, in terms of supply and demand and the forecast that basically everyone's agreeing on right now of where demand is going, if the economy is going to have, if the real estate economy is going to sort itself out, then we're going to have to see these products come online. In terms of lower cost units, right now, like I said, there's high demand. What we've talked about, there's high demand for rental. And so we're finding a lot of folks that are receptive to single unit ownership models like condominiums, which can go either rental or ownership depending on what that owner chooses to do. And so that's relatively popular right now because it's flexible, it's in demand right now, and you can charge rents that are very competitive right now in those units. But as we reach an equilibrium, they can also be rentals. They can also be ownership units later on. So that's a long-winded answer, but the short answer is that I can't say exactly how soon that's going to come into place. I do think that we are seeing more credit availability than we did certainly 5 years ago, and that's a good sign.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Gentlemen, I thank you for coming out tonight. I'd just like to say that as most of you know, I have the opportunity to work with the organizations that these gentlemen come from with some regularity. And we are very fortunate to have talents like themselves working for us, and I think their presentation here tonight illustrates that we got people who certainly understand the issues and are helping us try to work our way through the various encumbrances and new ideas and pitfalls that we face as we try to undertake this. But this has been, I think, a real rewarding process for not only Batavia, but Geneva, St. Charles, and North Aurora as we began to take a serious, renewed look at our housing opportunities in town and what we can and cannot do. And in our case, obviously, one of the things that we continuously labor over is whatever we do, what kind of impacts does it have on our school system, because that seems to be a big concern of a lot of our constituents about how much their school costs are as far as the tax bill goes. So we have to watch that, but these guys are out there with some cutting-edge new ideas, and I think have, put us onto some sites and some thoughts of things that can be hopefully accomplished in the future, and we'll see where it goes. But it's good to get it all out there and let people begin to cogitate and think about it and understand what are the potential ideas that can be put into practice, because needless to say, in the future, we are going to need some new housing opportunities around here, and we appreciate that you're kind of helping us get there before we need to really be there, but it's going to be sooner than what we all think. So thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Mayor, are we going, you brought up a good point. Are we going to share this with the school district or the administration?
Yeah, I think so, but I think what we've been trying to bring you all in on it as it's emerging here, and as the guys just said, they're going to present a final annual report here sometime probably in October to the council, and then we will then be in a position to get the final document and have for sure what, I know they're tweaking some numbers and stuff, so, they don't want to get too detailed on it till we know, but I think that is the idea that organizations like the school district will give an opportunity to see what is being said and what the potentials are in the future, so. All right, moving to item number 11, matters from the public for items not on the agenda. I know we've got several people tonight, and let me first recognize we have the former mayor of Yorkville sitting in the audience, who is a person who I believe has some message she'd like to share with us. And introduce yourself. And let me just say, I worked with her for a number of years, and she's somebody who soundly understands public policy and somebody who's not afraid to get their feet wet in the testy situations that the world of government brings today. So I thank you for your interest in what you're doing, and tell us your name and about yourself.
Okay, thank you for that nice introduction. My name is Valerie Bird, and I am running for Kay Hatcher's seat. She's retiring, and on November 4th, I will be on the ballot. I'm running as a Democrat. Actually, you could probably qualify me more as an independent. I was asked to run by the Democrats, and I said, why not? Because I want to give people a choice. I am the former mayor of Yorkville. I served from 2007 to 2011, and during that time, I served a year as president of the Metro West Council of Government, and really enjoyed my time there, and served on the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. I served before becoming mayor 9 years as an alderman for Ward 2. And my interest in government goes back even further than that. I have a degree in journalism from NIU, and in my way back early days, was a newspaper reporter for many years covering municipal government. I do have a love of government and municipalities especially, and a good understanding of municipal law, and just want you to know that that is something near and dear to my heart, that I would stand up for the municipalities and make sure that do the fight to keep as much money coming in as possible. I know what it's like to have that money cut. My other interests are trying to find solutions to our high property taxes. I've been walking around, and that's one of the things I hear over and over, and I know for my own self in Kendall County, we're the 8th highest in the nation. And people are feeling this pain, and I'm coming up with some solutions to address that. And also, we all know pension reform. That's another, way back in 2010 when I was president of Metro West, we went to a lot of workshops on this issue way back then. And we all know that up to 70% of our tax dollars are going to the pensions. We need to figure out a way to solve that problem. And I think if we could somehow address this, that would solve the other issues. I don't think that we're necessarily overspending. I think it's a case of trying to work out these issues. And I'm told we're like $60 billion in the hole right now in Illinois. So we know that's a big problem. But I just wanted to come by tonight and introduce myself to you. And I dropped off copies of the Yorkville Village Guide, the city guide. That's what I do in my everyday job. I started a company that does community guides and maps, and I've done one for the Conservation Foundation. You may have seen it, a Citizen's Guide to Preserving the Fox River. Also done them for Sugar Grove, Montgomery, Kendall County, Plano, just to name a few. But this is the latest one, hot off the press, and just to give you some idea of what I do. So I look forward to working with you if I'm elected, and thank you for your time.
Valerie, you want to tell the district number you're...
50. And I realize there's only a small portion of Batavia in the district, but still, it's an important part of the district, so...
I think you have part of the southwest side of Batavia.
The west, yes.
The far north end of town is another district, and the east side is another district. So Batavia really has 3 different representatives at any moment in Springfield speaking about us from different perspectives, but hopefully that serves us well. It certainly has in the past, and I wish you the best. So thanks for coming by.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we have some other people that want to speak. If you come up, please, and give us your name and your thoughts, and we'll put it on the record.
Well, my name is Doris Lippman. I've lived in Batavia since '95, and I've loved living in this town. Batavia's been notorious for having the lowest electric rates in the area until this Peabody Prairie State deal that was signed. I just don't understand how a 30-year confidential electric deal can be made with a coal plant in southern Illinois. I thought we were the windmill city of energy. How did we get involved with the coal plant? But it's not just Batavia. It's 200 other communities in the Midwest and in 5 different states that are also affected. I believe an attorney general investigation needs to be requested by Batavia. Individual citizens cannot request this. It has to come from the town. So other communities and states attorneys can pursue similar investigations about information that was not accurate and is costing billions over projections, costing all these 200 towns millions over what they were told was going to be the cost for this energy. Paducah, Kentucky, and Danville, Virginia, this week have the same issues in front of their city councils. I think the city council needs to be proactive. An investigation with the Attorney General is not a negative thing. If fraud is found, we can get out of this deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Others want to speak to us this evening? Yes, sir, if you'd give us your name, please.
My name is John Shepard. I've lived in Batavia since 1990. I live on Norcross Drive, and I want to talk about the electric problem that we have with the rates. There isn't a lot more that I can say after what you just heard, but I appeal to you to please contact the Attorney General and ask him for an investigation. With high electric rates, we're looking at, I think, a real problem for growth for the city in the future, especially with commercial. I've only been into this for a couple of weeks, so I'm sure I'm going to be learning more. But at this point, I think part of the problem, or the big problem, is we're not privy to the contract because it is a private contract. And therefore, we can't see what the city council sees as to what's going to happen in the future. And I think with an investigation by the Attorney General, that'll be made public and everyone can say, okay, we understand now. But until I think the citizens of Batavia can actually look at the contract, you're going to have people like me and like this young lady coming to your meetings and saying, gee, we need an investigation. So that's it. I know you're all probably kind of tired and want to go home. So thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Anybody else? Okay, moving then to item number 12, which is the Main Street report, Water Street Studios. Jeff?
How you doing, everybody? Great. Are we all awake? Beautiful. My name's Jeff Matter. I'm a board member of Batavia Main Street. Wanted to share with you that Main Street had 100 Main Street volunteers donating 215 hours for planning meetings, programs, and events in August. As a part of our ongoing retention meetings, Main Street met with 2 businesses in August to learn about their business and how to help them grow. So looking ahead, big weekend. Who knows what's going on this weekend in downtown Batavia? Art in Your Eye. Not only is it Art in Your Eye, it's the 10th anniversary of Art in Your Eye. So what we've prepared for you tonight, just like on David Letterman, is our top 10 reasons of why you should come to this wonderful festival. So number 10, Friday and Saturday night, this is new, we've got entertainment in the evening. So really great bands. It's kind of, we take the Fine Arts Festival, turn it into a music festival. How cool is that, right? So Friday night, we've got a great Fox Valley band, Noah's Arcade. They play a lot of rock and blues, and Noah Gabriel does lots of things in the community, so we're excited to have them there. And then for a funky good time, we've got Libido Funk Circus, and they're going to be the headliner on Friday. Saturday, we open up the evening with the Spectators, and then one of Chicago's, if not the most requested, maybe the second most requested bands in the Chicago area, Modern Day Romeos, and they're going to be our big headliner on Saturday night. Number 9, Try It Tent, where you can sculpt with clay or make pottery on the wheel. I will be trying that. Just no judging of what the outcome is. Number 8, new craft beer and wine garden. This is totally new. The festival has never had anything like this, and we're really excited that Penrose Brewing will be there. And at 6 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, they're going to have a special pour just from like 6 to 6:30 or something. So you don't want to miss that. 7, we've got our Print Lab screening printing demonstrations on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., where you can get a one-of-a-kind bug design and even bring your own T-shirt to get printed. 6, we've got a food truck court. Again, something new. Food trucks are all the rage. I was just in Austin. I think there's a food truck every 5 feet, but we will have not as many as they have there, but we'll have a lot here. It'll be great. So please come. Number 5, decorate a kite and take home and fly, or a mobile to hang and display throughout the festival. How cool is that? Number 4, our lovely artisans will be at the Farmers Market on River Street from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturday. 3, we have almost 100 local artist pieces in the City Hall exhibit. So right here, 100 pieces. See how the room gets transformed. Number 2, award-winning fine art show artist on Houston Street. Of course, this is the Art in Your Eye Fine Arts Festival, and that's what we really want to highlight. And we do get some spectacular artists coming here to share their art with us, and I'm sure they would all appreciate you coming, and they'd even appreciate it even more if you took some of their art home with you. So bring your checkbooks. Okay. And number 1, a beautiful weekend supporting the arts and living in downtown Batavia. Absolutely. So, because Batavia is the place to be. That's right. Okay, so another event we've got coming up, really exciting, Sunday, September 28th from 11 to 4 p.m. If you're interested in architecture, history, and design, join us for the House Walk to tour 5 Batavia homes and have tea and refreshments at Water Street Studios. Yours truly and John Ivan, a Batavia resident, will be providing musical entertainment during that tea. He is wonderful, and I encourage you all to come. Tickets are on sale now for $25 pre-sale and $30 the day of the event. We're also looking for docents. I hear it's just 15, so if you and your friends want to come out for a fun time, donate, be a part of the Batavia community, great. Grab your neighbors, grab strangers off the street. We don't care. We would just love to have you be a part of our organization. All right, let's see. It's only 2-hour shifts as well. Tickets are reduced price for our House Walk team members at only $10. To find out more about what we do and get involved with the community, contact Main Street at 630-761-3528 or at www.downtownbatavia.com. So tonight, our business of the month is Water Street Studios, about to celebrate their 5-year anniversary. They are gearing up for their annual fashion fundraiser, Ensemble, and here to talk about this event and how how the funding raised, thank you, helps our community is Rita Grenzi. She's the interim general manager of Water Street Studios. Rita.
Nice introduction. Well, hi, and thank you. That's hard to follow. I'm not that kind of an actor, so I do tend to like to talk. Ensemble. The word ensemble means a group of musicians, actors, or dancers who perform together, but it can also mean a group of items, or I think a group of people that are viewed as a whole, not as individuals. This is very much how some of us who are involved in the leadership at Water Street Studio are seeing our artistic home. Every year, we have one big event where we invite all of you to come visit us in our cultural home at Water Street Studios for our fashion fundraiser Ensemble. There are a couple of different components. There's the fashion show. You can see the video going on. That's from last year's show. There's an exhibit in the gallery. We have a lovely, fun event for the evening, but mostly it raises money and awareness to continue the programs that we already have going on throughout the year. Some of our programs include Art Flow, which started out in Batavia Apartments. It's bringing art and culture to people who might not otherwise get it either in schools or at home. We have a new program called Interface. It's a residency program that is bringing visiting artists from outside of this region into Batavia to spend a week, a month here to get to know the artists here and develop a project here and eventually have a show at Water Street Studios. We recently brought in a documentary filmmaker who did a very impactful and important film about the high rate of suicide in veterans. And she has an ongoing project funded by the Jerome Foundation in Minnesota. She came and showed her film here and did a workshop with us. We have a gallery that allows local, regional, and national artists to come to Batavia and show their work and bring people locally, nationally, and regionally to Batavia to not only see the art, but to partake of all that Batavia has to offer. We are the home of Waterline Writers. They have their monthly meetings in our space, and upon their request, we have just opened up one of our studios as a writer's studio for writers to come in and share, do their work on our space since we have such a beautiful building. And we have the Print Lab in Batavia, which is our satellite, in St. Charles, our satellite location, since we found that we were getting bigger than the building we were in. Now, none of this could happen if it were just about the individuals. It is about the community, and the artists that are in Water Street Studios come from the Tri-Cities. Some have come to be part of the show from the Beverly area of Chicago, from Oak Park, from Bridgeport, from Evanston, from Michigan, from Colorado, and this year we have our featured artist is from Iowa. Wonderful artists, mid-career and advanced career artists, not just people playing with paint on paper, but people that have made this their life. We could not do any of this without the incredible support of our sponsors, some of us that have been with us from the beginning, including BEI, thank you, Austin, Kane County Chronicle, Robust Marketing, Lagunitas Brewery, and Focus Hair Salon. So I'm here tonight to invite all of you to come to our event. It is on Saturday, September 27th. It starts at 7 p.m. You won't see anything like it really in this area, probably anything like it west of Chicago. It is truly a spectacle. A lot of the people on the runway, that's a Batavia High School graduate right there. She's going to Elmhurst College now. So please come join us. We would love to have you there. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Any questions?
I talk fast.
Thank you for the video. That's nice to see that. Jeff or Joy, did either one of you want to say any more about Art in Your Eye this weekend, or?
Well, really just to come out to support the arts. I mean, obviously we're building quite the artistic community here in Batavia, and we're really proud of it. And it was also recommended by our lovely folks here doing the housing project. So I encourage you, obviously, to enjoy the weekend at Art in Your Eye, and then also the following weekend over at Water Street Studios. If you haven't been to the show, it's truly something great and amazing that they're doing over there, and something that is really building not just our community, but really the cultural tourism for our region. There's a lot of discussion going on building our cultural tourism for the region. There's a new group of Fox Valley artists and members of the Fox Valley region that are getting together to do something like that. So something coming up, and we're actually hosting a meeting for a lot of the leaders in the community to start discussing that. So just something to look forward to. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you this weekend. All right, moving then to item number 13, which is approval of waiver of formal bidding for the purchase of a 2014 Vermeer BC 18XL. And Alderman Holman, you want to dismantle yourself here for a moment? He's works for Vermeer, so he doesn't want to be sitting here voting. So he's going to go to the audience for a moment. This is under
City Services.
City Services.
Thank you, Your Honor. First step we have in this is to waive formal bidding for replacement of our chipper, even though we do have a brush service pickup every month throughout the summer months. We do have one that we have, was formerly used every day, every year, throughout the year. It is now worn out and needs to be replaced. The Vermeer that we have in this package is actually a couple $1,000s less than what we had budgeted, and it is purchased through a normal vendor that we would use in the National Joint Power Alliance thing, so that we do get a better price on it by going with the national pricing on it. I would then make the motion that we waive formal bidding to purchase a 2014 Vermeer BC 1800 XL chipper.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Wolf, second by Alderman O'Brien for a motion to waive formal bidding for the purchase of the Vermeer BC 1800 XL. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Wolf.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Vasilian.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Clark. Aye. Atak.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Motion's approved. 10 yes, no nos, 3 absent. Okay, moving then to 14, which is Resolution 14-121-R, authorization to purchase the 2014 Vermeer chipper from Vermeer Midwest in the amount of $63,396. Alderman Wolf?
I would make that motion.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Wolf, second by Alderman McFadden for the purchase of the 2014 Vermeer chipper from Vermeer. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Wolf.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan. Sam. Vasilian. Saron. McFadden. Clark. Atak. Stark.
Resolution 14-121-R is approved, 10 yes, no no's, 3 absent. Okay, moving to 15, which is Resolution 14-127-R, third extension of Walgreens property sales tax agreement. And Alderman Atek, do you have this one?
Yes.
You're going to shoot.
The city has entered into a redevelopment agreement with BEI for Walgreens and also an agreement to transfer property. And the agreement is coming to an end, and Walgreens is still working on a couple contingencies. They're still trying to get a lease with Walgreens and finalize their financing, and they think it's going to happen rather quickly, but they're asking for a 120-day extension so that they don't have to come back for another one if things don't move as quickly as they think. This was discussed and approved at the JCOW meeting, so I move that we grant the extension for the redevelopment agreement, Resolution 14-127-R.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Atak, second by Alderman O'Brien for the approval of Resolution 14-127-R, the third extension of the Walgreens property sales tax agreement. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Atak. Stark. Wolf.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan. Homan. Sam. Saron. McFadden. Clark.
That one is approved. 10 yes, no no's, 3 absent. And let the record reflect that Alderman Vasilian excluded himself from that vote. Okay, moving then to item number...
Should we approve the redevelopment agreement too?
That'll be 16.
16. Right.
Right.
Were you moving? I'm sorry.
I was just going to read that.
Okay, great. All right. Sorry. I thought you were moving to the next
Maybe
number.
I've forgotten it, but
No,
thank
all
you.
right.
Okay, item 16, which is Resolution 14-128-R, extension of the BE Batavia Enterprises redevelopment agreement for the Walgreens project. Alderman Atek?
I move that we approve the Resolution 14-128-R for the redevelopment agreement with Batavia Enterprises.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Atek, second by Alderman Holman for the approval of Resolution 14-128-R, the extension of the Batavia Enterprises redevelopment agreement for the Walgreens project. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Atak. Stark. Wolf.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan. Homan. Sam. Saron. McFadden. Clark.
Resolution 14-128-R is approved, 10 yes, no no's, 3 absent. Okay, moving to item number 17, which is approval of a letter of support for a medical cannabis cultivation center. And this is under Government Services. Alderman Stark?
Yes, at the last JCOW meeting, we had a discussion about a proposed medical marijuana cultivation center in Batavia, proposed by Farmar Farms LLC. They're talking about a cultivation center at 1375 Paramount Parkway. It's very important to know that there will be very few cultivation centers awarded within the state, within our area. This is just a proposal, and they were asking us for a letter of support. Staff has checked into the background, talked to them extensively, and recommended that we do have the mayor send a letter of support to the Illinois Department of Agriculture, who oversees the cultivation centers. So we discussed it at length at the JCOW meeting. We agreed that it would be something we would support. It's also important to remember that it fills up a space in our, if it were awarded to Batavia, it would fill up a space in our industrial park. It would use about $300,000 worth of energy per year, and would be a good addition, a good neighbor in our industrial park. We looked at this from not a, do you agree or disagree with medical marijuana? That's a totally different issue. It's just another business on Paramount that you would drive by and probably never know what was done inside the building anyway. So we did agree that this letter should be written, and the mayor has written a letter of support and has sent it on, or will be sending it on as soon as we approve it. So I would recommend, I would make a motion that we approve the letter of support for a medical marijuana, a medical cannabis cultivation center.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Stark, second by Alderman Wolf for the approval of the letter of support for the Medical Cannabis Cultivation Center. Any discussion? Well, I would just note that as we talked about at the committee meeting, under the current rules of the state of Illinois, there's only one cultivation center approved per Illinois State Police District, and we are in Illinois State Police District 2, which includes Kane, DuPage, Lake, McHenry, and DeKalb counties. So there's only going to be one cultivation center in those 5 counties. I'm sure there's going to be a number of other applications, and supposedly this decision is going to be made or decided by a series of points that the state has put together based on various factors that will be part of the selection process. So this is a little bit of a shot in the dark, I would tell you, probably the best way to describe this as to whether or not it would ever even happen. But, certainly, as I told the committee, I talked to some doctors about this. They seem to think that this is an opportunity for some people who are experiencing severe pain to perhaps be treated. And I since have talked to several people in Batavia who are in need of this type of a treatment and are very anxious for something to happen, because for some of the diseases that they're dealing with, they say that their doctors are telling them that this would be a comforting source. It would be kind of a short-term solution to whatever their pain is, but it would be something in bad pain events they could do this and get themselves through some bad times. So it's strictly a medical procedure as far as I'm concerned, and something that, just the human side of this we should be supporting. Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Stark?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Vasilian?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Atack?
Aye.
Well, that one is approved, 11 yes, no nos, 2 absent. Okay, moving to 18, which is approval of a Class F liquor license and fee waive for the Batavia Artist/Water Street Studios event. Alderman Wolf, do you have this one?
I think it's government services.
Or do you have this?
Government services.
Alderman Stark?
The Water Street Studios, for their upcoming event, has applied for a Class F temporary liquor license. It's a one-day temporary license for their event, and the police department has updated their investigation and background check to make sure that everything is fine, and it has been approved. So, or they've come back with no blemishes on their records. So I would recommend to council that we approve the Class F liquor license and fees waived for the Batavia Artist Water Street Studios.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Stark, second by Alderman Clark for the approval of the Class F liquor license for the Batavia Artist program at Water Street Studios. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Stark?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Vasilian?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Clark? Atack?
Aye.
Motion's approved, 11 yes, no no's, 2 absent. Moving to item number 19, the administrator's report. Mr. McGrath.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. A short report this evening. The street program is underway. There's a list of streets found on our website. Please watch for signs that are posted around the neighborhoods where the work is going to be, and watch out for construction workers, please. The Baptist Church parking lot will be paved this fall. The staff begins its budget meetings in the next few weeks. You'll get more information about that. The next brush pickup, the east side, is October 13th, Monday. Your brush should be out by 7 o'clock. On the west side, it will be October 20th. Our Comcast liaison has changed, but we have had a proposal that relates to some funding for our public access entity, BATV, so we'd like to talk about that specific item at next week's JCOW meeting. And that's all I have tonight.
Any questions of the administrator this evening? All right, very good. Thank you, Bill. Okay, committee reports, community development, Alderman Atek.
Okay, just... Okay, the next JCOW meeting, tomorrow night we'll be discussing Westtown TIF and the Houston Street streetscape. And on September 23rd, there'll be a discussion about the Tanglewood SSA number 58 and 59 establishing an ordinance, and the Fox River rezoning. Okay, and there'll be a Plan Commission meeting September 17th and a Historic Preservation Committee meeting September 22nd. At this time, there's nothing on the agenda. So does that mean that it's going to be canceled? Does Dave cancel them if there's nothing?
No, it just...
Okay, all right. And then also on JCOW, September 23rd, we'll be discussing the South Harrison Street area rezoning. And that's
Thank
it.
you. Any questions? Okay, public utilities, Alderman Clark.
Nothing for public utilities for tomorrow night's meeting, but on the 23rd, there is one item about the electric rate study consultant. We'll be awarding a consultant to look at our electric rates. So that's all I have.
Government services, Alderman Stark, do you have anything?
On September, I have nothing on the agenda tomorrow night. On September 23rd, we have a discussion about business registration. And on September 30th, we will be discussing city council compensation and the JCOW committee structure and procedures. And on October 7th, we'll be talking about and interviewing potential alder people for the vacancy for Alderman Sparks' former seat. And that's all I have.
Okay. City services, Alderman Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. On tomorrow night's JCOW, we have the 2014 street program, River Street discussion, the preliminary feasibility study for the Westtown TIF district, and then also a discussion on Far North River Street paving. On the September 23rd JCOW meeting, we have signage grant discussions. And just remind everybody that as we get towards the end of the season, make sure you watch the city schedule and get the brush out on the right days for east and west sides.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right. Do we have any other business from the council? All right. As we announced under the agenda actions, there's going to be no executive session tonight. So moving then to the mayor's report very quickly, just to kind of reiterate, we are now accepting applications for the position of First Ward Alderman, who would be appointed probably at the plan would be to appoint that individual at the city council meeting on October 20th. But we are going to be accepting applications from now through the end of the month, which is Wednesday, October 1st at 5 o'clock is going to be the cutoff date. I can report to you I've had 5 different people contact me or call or ask some questions about potentially expressing an interest. So we would ask that anybody who is seriously interested, if they would drop a written signed note or letter off to the mayor's office and ask that their name be placed on the list of potential applicants. Again, to be an applicant, you have to be a registered voter in the state of Illinois, in the city of Batavia, and you have to be resident, most importantly, of the first ward, and you have to live within the boundaries of the first ward. And I've had a couple people in that thought maybe they were, but they found out they weren't. And so that's a kind of a tricky ward out there because of some of the boundary constraints that the county clerk helped us draw into it under the idea that we have to have all the wards the same number of people under the 1964 Supreme Court ruling of one man, one vote. So they had to kind of move some things around, and that ward does kind of jump all over the place over there on the southeast side of town. So, again, please make sure you're a resident of the first ward. It'd be pretty embarrassing to get you down here and then find out that you're up here applying and we find out that you're not a resident of the ward. So the procedure would be then that everybody files their application by the 1st. Those applications will be then replicated and, distributed to all the members of the city council for you to review. And then, as Alderman Stark has already indicated, the plan is that at the JCOW meeting on Tuesday, October 7th, we would ask all those people to come down here to make presentations to each one of you, or to us as a group, and let you review each one of those individuals. And then following that, we would then do a kind of a selection process, which we've done a number of times before, and then the decision is then made by the members of the city council as to who you would like to appoint to work with you. Now, this is going to be, the city attorney advised me earlier, this is going to be somewhat of a shortened term for this person, because while we would appoint them, there is a law now that they have to run for the election for that term right after the first election in April. That would be for a full term, but they would only be in there for a short period of time until they would either have to make a decision to run or not run, and then they would face election next April and would run against anybody else who then wanted to choose to run against them on an open public ballot in the first ward. So it's going to be kind of a shortened term of office for whomever is there. They can certainly run and maybe be elected to a full 4-year term next April, but the term that we will be appointing them to will only be from October through next May 1st, I guess, is when we change offices. So everybody understand? Hopefully we got a number of reporters in the room, and you can put that in, a little story about that in the paper and kind of spread that word around that we are interested in receiving applicants. As I say, I have had some. Alderman O'Brien?
With that, Mr. Mayor, I've spoken to a number of people regarding filling Garen's seat, and a lot of them thought that the time constraint was just a time commitment was kind of excessive or something they couldn't commit to. So I just think this is a good opportunity for people for the short term to see just what is involved in it before you run and for re-election, say, in April. It'd be a short-term study. So it might be a nice opportunity for somebody who's thinking of, municipal government and they're unaware of what the commitments are. So could be a positive thing for us.
Well, I stress this thing that they have to be a resident of the first ward, because we've had this before where we've had people come down here and file applications, and unfortunately we do take a look at them ourselves and then have to call some folks and say, well, you're not in the right ward, so we have to discount you from participation in this. So just so everybody knows, they have to be a first ward resident. Alderman Callahan?
I also received a couple questions about people that would want to run in light of the class action suit, if they were or could become participants in that. And I explained the dilemma that poses, but that might be a question that the city attorney might want to address to anybody that does do any applicants, at least let them know beforehand some of the concerns.
Alderman DeCillian?
And if anyone has any questions about whether they're in the ward or not, all they have to do is go to the city website, look under the listings for the various aldermen, and under the first ward alderman's name, there's a link to click to the map, so you can see and confirm if you're in that ward or not.
So there's plenty of information available. It's just a matter of we want to make sure we don't get a whole bunch of people excited about it and then find out that they're in the wrong ward, so. And while we're talking about Alderman Sparks, we do have cake and coffee at the back of the room to honor him at the end of the meeting, so I'd ask all the members of the council to hang around and have a cup of coffee, and we'll have a piece of cake, and certainly invite the members of the audience and press to join us too, if you're so inclined. And that concludes my comments for the night. So Alderman Clark, you want to make a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Clark, second by Alderman O'Brien. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.